Our first guest here today was first elected to the Tacoma City Council back in 2019. And a lot of people might not know this, but he has competed in over 12 marathons, including the 2011 Boston Marathon, and he was a contestant on the game show Jeopardy back in 2012. Welcome, Tacoma City Council member John Hines.
Thank you for having me here, Chris. This is great.
We are happy to have you back on Cityline. And last time you were here, you chatted about the walk across Tacoma. Are you going to be doing Walk Across Tacoma again this year? And can you tell us why that's important to you?
No, it's great. So last year I did a walk across the city. I started at Point Defiance, walked all the way around the city, down into the south end, and ended up at Browns Point Lighthouse. It was 74 miles, 240,000 steps in 7 days. I definitely needed to change my shoes after that. And the whole goal was just getting out and seeing people where they are, going to different neighborhoods, talking to folks, stopping into small businesses. So I am going to do it again. It's going to be in August this year. And when this time, I'm going to really be focusing a lot on sidewalks, because sidewalks is something I've been very passionate about. As you said, I used to be a pretty serious runner. So I know kind of every broken sidewalk, every missing sidewalk in the entire city. And so the walk is really going to kind of highlight that, which is, where do we need more sidewalks? Where do we need more infrastructure so pedestrians can get around? Councilmember Walker and I changed our transportation benefit district to dedicate funding to more sidewalks in our city. And the walk is really going to highlight some of those gaps and also what we could do.
That's great. I know I see teams out there all the time right now working on our sidewalks and intersections. Are you going to use a little bit more moleskin this year?
I mean, we're going to try. We'll see. And I'm debating about, route. Do we go starting point, Browns Point, and go the other direction? We haven't figured it out yet. But as we go, I mean, one of the best parts is certain residents kind of join me for parts of the walk. So we'll definitely be putting out, when the dates are and when people can join me.
That's wonderful. Now, you've been doing a lot of work recently to address animal welfare issues and animal overpopulation. Can you tell us why you're interested in this work and a little bit more about your latest efforts with it?
Well, I'd hate to say, but it's become one of my pet projects. No, I never thought I'd be the animal guy when I started on council, and what ended up happening was a couple issues came my way of different constituents bringing up challenges around cats and dogs and animal noise, and I got involved with the Humane Society as part of that, and putting that policy together. And so then from those conversations initially with the Humane Society, they brought up some of these issues around animal overpopulation. We just have a lot of animals that are ending up in the Humane Society that are that have been uncared for and have just kind of inundated our community. And so it really led me to think more and more about, how are we going to address that? How do we get more money into spay and neuter programs? How do we try to encourage, people to be responsible pet owners and to not kind of overwhelm our Humane Society and animal control officers? So that was my big work. It's a lot of animal welfare, and I never thought I'd be the animal council member, but I've found it really meaningful, and the Humane Society's been a great partner.
Wonderful. Well, we need an animal advocate on the council, so thank you for taking that on.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of news from other cities that have experienced some devastating environmental challenges, from fires to floods. What are you doing to help Tacoma build resilience to the impacts of climate change?
Yeah, so we recently updated our climate action plan. The city laid out our climate action plan back in 2021, and we just came back 4 years later for a bit of an update. And one of the things I led on with Councilmember Walker was refocusing on, how are we mitigating the impacts of climate change right now? There's not as much we can do as a city to really change the trajectory around climate change, but we can do a lot to help protect and support our residents. So one of the things we really focus on is planting trees. Can we plant more trees in our city to really kind of address urban heat islands, suck more of the carbon out of the atmosphere, provide cooling spaces for our neighbors? Part of the walk across Tacoma really made that clear for me. As you walk through our city, there's neighborhoods where it was very cool and tree lined and a nice, pleasant place to walk. And there were other parts where there were no trees. It was very hot, and not as pleasant a place to walk. So really what we've been trying to do is think about how do we mitigate those things as best as possible. And one thing is trees. We're looking at, EV chargers. Can we, encourage people to drive electric vehicles, and can we build more infrastructure for that? So we're really just trying to take the climate action plan and put it into a way that it's impacting people's daily lives, because we can't really shift where climate change is going. It's happening, and we need to prepare ourselves as best we can for it.
Great. Now, another challenge that's in our city is homelessness and housing. They're both extremely complex. Can you share a little bit about what the city is doing to address those issues right now?
Yeah, and I think the way you've laid it out, Chris, is very good. It's a continuum in many ways, right? It's homelessness and housing. I try to think of them set together. And so the city's doing lots of pieces to try to address it in multiple spots. So, one thing I've been a real champion of is kind of our temporary emergency shelters like the one on 6th and Orchard, which is right by my house. So the tiny home villages, we just cut the ribbon on Kingfisher Village, which is down on 84th and Hosmer. And so that's kind of the initial point of helping people move from kind of off the streets and into these temporary shelters where they can get access to shelter and services and, help people then transition into housing. And then for that, and so the city's got multiple shelter opportunities and types to do that. We're really excited that the Tacoma Rescue Mission's breaking ground on an expansion too. So we're gonna have more places for people to go. And then last year we passed Home in Tacoma, which changed our zoning code to allow more housing types. So as we're expanding access for people to move into shelter and housing, we're also expanding the housing options they can move into. Because at the end of the day, it's not enough for people just to be in shelter, they have to then move into housing. And so the city is really looking at both of those, more shelter and how to expand housing options to really take on homelessness. It's a big regional issue. It's bigger than just the city of Tacoma. We're partnering more and more with the county to try to address it, but Tacoma is doing some exciting things to really do our part.
Wonderful. Now, one of your roles as a council member is you chair the Government Performance and Finance Committee.
Yes.
What is that?
Ooh.
And what's the work like with that?
So, great question. So the Government Performance Finance Committee is similar to what it sounds like. We look at two things. One, we're kind of the budget committee for the council, so we get all the updates on where the budget is, tax revenues, spending, and can kind of give feedback to staff about where we want to go on that. And then we also do kind of the government performance side, which is looking at how different departments are doing, right? So we have council goals, and we look at kind of what they're doing, and are they meeting the demands and what the council expects? What are areas for improvement? We do a lot with utilities, so the Public Utility Board comes through. We talk a lot to TPU around water and power rates and things like that. So it's a great committee. We've taken on lots of different topics that have been there. Even animal control came through there because I'm the chair of it. So it's never boring, always exciting.
Wonderful. Now, you are also a strong champion for cleaning up our streets and keeping Tacoma beautiful. Mm-hmm. What is some of the latest news on taking care of litter, trash, graffiti around our community, and how are we doing? Are we making progress on that right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a never-ending battle, I got to be honest with you. So Tidy Up Tacoma, which we launched back in 2021, was an idea that the mayor and I had back during the pandemic of there was a lot of trash in the city and graffiti, and what can we do to really make a dent in it? So we launched Tidy Up Tacoma, which meant that we have a crew that's going out and picking up litter and trash, that's addressing our business districts. For the first time ever, we have trash cans in all of our business districts, so that you see the Tidy Up Tacoma trash cans everywhere. Was a real big win for some of the business districts who wanted trash cans to help deal with it. We have kind of graffiti removal, and we can partner with private property owners to remove graffiti. So we've put a lot of resources into trying to address litter, trash, and graffiti. Slowly we're kind of bending the curve on it. I think as people go out to different business districts and different parts of our city, they're seeing they're cleaner. They're seeing people out clean it, which is great. I think the key part, Chris, is we need to continue to work with our neighbors to not throw litter down on the ground in the first place. Mm-hmm. So one thing that's coming that I want to talk more about is a kind of a citywide anti-littering campaign, and really pushing people to not litter in the first place. So we have It Hits the Ground, It Hits the Sound, which is our stormwater kind of great motto that's been nationally recognized. But I'd really like to see something else around keeping Tacoma beautiful and people doing their part to keep the litter off of our streets.
It takes me back to my childhood of give a hoot, don't pollute.
Yes.
I mean, that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Now for you, what does success look like as a council member?
Ooh. For me, I think it comes back to do the people I represent, and I represent District 1, which is the West End and North End, do they feel like I'm responsive? Do they feel like when they reach out to me, I get them the answers that they're looking for, or do I connect them to the right people? And when I'm doing policy, is the policy kind of meeting needs that the public has shared? I mean, in my mind, this is the ultimate customer service job. It's the ultimate public service job. And so the outcomes are doing things that support the public that they can see, feel, and understand.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
As we wrap up our final seconds here, council member, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
I want to thank, all the city staff, but for this in particular, I want to thank my policy assistant, Christina Kahn, who is definitely the person behind the scenes that is making sure that I stay on track and get all these things done that you hear about. It's been great.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today. And we're going to be back in just a moment with Martha from the Toy Drive and Rescue Mission. So we will see you back shortly, right after the break.